This is Insta360's Ace Pro 2, and this camera actually made me healthier as a person. No, I'm not crazy. I know that just buying a product is not going to inherently change your life or make you into a different person, but it can help cultivate better habits. And I think the more habits that you cultivate, especially healthy ones, that is what changes your life. And this little tiny camera made by Insta360 certainly did exactly that. Two things about this video though. One, this is not going to be a video that has anything to do with like the specs of the camera. I might mention a few of them, but if you're looking for a video all about the specs and how to set up a camera, not going to be the place for you. If this is a place where you want to understand the value of a camera like this and how this can be a part of your kit as a creator, as a creative person, as somebody that likes documenting things and experiencing things at the same time, then stick around. I would not describe this camera as an action camera. I know it's sold as an action camera, it's marketed as an action camera, and it can be used very easily as an action camera. But for me, I think a better way to think of it is like a mini camera. It sort of fills the gap that like old dad cameras used to fill. But the main reason that I think that this is a good camera is because it's fun. That said, I think it's more important right now to establish what I think makes a good camera. I think when choosing a device that you're going to use to document yourself and create things, like specs are important. Like what's the resolution, what's the bit depth, what's the color space, what sort of recording formats do you have, does it shoot slow motion, how is the audio, all that stuff. That's important, and those things certainly make a camera capable, but I don't think that those make a camera good. I think that the Ace Pro 2 is a good camera because it's unobtrusive, and because of that unobtrusiveness, I want to use it. I want to bring it to things that I'm doing. As a tool, it's not something that I have to learn how to use. It just exists in my world already without having to make any changes or make any concessions to use it. That is a sign of a very well-crafted item or tool, camera, whatever you want to call it. This is actually less like a GoPro or a DJI Action, and it's actually more like my other camera, which I'm gonna go grab so I can show you what I'm talking about. This camera is actually a lot closer to this camera than any other one. So this is my Leica Q. This is the first generation that Leica came out with, the Q model of cameras, and it's seen a lot. I traded in like all my Sony gear, then paid a bunch of extra money so that I could get this off mpb.com. And it is and has been my favorite stills camera that I've ever owned. I use this just about every single time I'm capturing stills. But the reason I like this camera is the same reason why I like this camera as well, which is why I'm saying that these two have a lot more in common than you might think. Like the image that both of those cameras create is really, really good, but it's not spectacular. There are better images coming from other cameras. The reason that I think that it is a good item and a good camera is because it is delightful to use. It's a fun item to have in my repertoire, and the images that I make with it are more compelling because the tool that I'm using to create them is just, it's unobtrusive. It's out of the way. And my favorite kinds of tools are the types of tools that simply get out of the way. I think that's also the best trait that a tool can have, is that it gets out of the way of the process of making something with it. That sort of rounds out the central ethos of this camera. Not to spoil the ending. So let's talk about what this camera like really gets right. First thing that this camera gets right is its size. It is just such a small camera. Like this is the camera with the Explorer package, which you can get from Insta360. Highly recommend it. But if you just want the camera, this is just the camera. And that is like the most pocketable thing I've ever seen. And it has like a flip out screen, so you don't have to worry about using a smaller screen when you're doing like blog type work, which this absolutely is a great camera option for doing blog work and content creation, so to speak. Very, very capable camera for exactly that. Personally, I pretty much just keep it in this cage. That's that. Hello. The other thing is that this camera has a really robust battery life. The amount of time that it takes to run out one of those batteries with any sort of like meaningful work with the camera is a lot longer than expected. Just finished work, and I gotta say, the camera's got more juice in the tank than I do. That's for sure. I'm absolutely
wiped today. So tired. But I think this thing is kind of great.
Yes, I do carry around a secondary battery with me at all times, but that said, the battery size of this thing is hilarious. Like, that's the battery. That's it. That's the whole battery. So like, throwing one of these batteries in your pocket, I mean, you would barely notice it, to be honest with you.
Here's probably the coolest thing about this. I never would have been able to get this angle or this field of view with my regular camera because it's simply too big and too expensive to replace if this were to go wrong. But using a little camera like this, which is effectively $500 and you're ready to shoot, I don't feel so bad about it.
The other thing that's great about this camera is that it is both simple and reliable. If I wanted to go into the menu system and fully customize how I want the image pipeline to work, I absolutely can. It has that capability, and if that's the type of shooter that you are, more power to you. The reason I like this camera is because if I do use automatic settings on this and I, set certain parameters like frame rate and resolution, I can just let that camera make the best decision for whatever situation I'm shooting in, and I'm usually pretty happy with the image that it creates. But my favorite thing about making content with the Ace Pro 2 is that it is not a phone. I don't like using my phone for content creation. I like making stuff. It's cathartic, it feels good, it's a bit of a therapy thing for me, and whenever I shoot with my phone, the moment I press stop on the record, there's so many other things that I want to start doing on my phone. It's just, so having like just a camera that's just as easy as using a phone really is like the best of both worlds. That said, this is not a perfect camera, and so I do want to let you know about some of the things that I don't like about it, stuff that goes wrong with the camera. So let's get into that. There's only two things that I really don't like about this camera. One, when you press the shutter, especially in photo mode, it doesn't actually take a photo when you press the button. It takes a photo when the shutter sound goes off on the camera. I like to shoot in RAW for photos, which is a 50 megapixel image in this camera specifically, and it takes about a half second from when I press the shutter and when the actual shutter goes off, and that half second is sometimes the difference between getting the photo and not getting the photo. That's really aggravating. The second thing that I don't like about this camera, which I think actually could be fixed relatively easily, is that when you start recording in video, the orientation of the screen locks. Now I get locking the orientation of the actual recording, but the monitoring of the image should change based on the orientation of the camera. For instance, if I start recording with the flippy outy screen like this, when I start recording and then I turn it like this during the recording, the image is now upside down because it wasn't fully vertically oriented when I started the record. And that can be very disorienting, and it is not the easiest thing to recover from when thinking about framing, thinking about composition, things like that.
Something I noticed like pretty much right away, the lens gets immediately dirty. Like there's no coating on this lens that allows for like any level of dirt or grime or anything. It's just like you touch it, like I'm just barely gonna touch it, ready? Like there's some hydrophobic lens covers that you can get and stuff like that, but like, I'm looking at it right now, there's already a smudge there. Yeah, I mean, I can totally see it. Not hydrophobic at all.
Again, like if those are the only two problems that I have with this camera, like I'd say that this thing is punching pretty well above its own weight class.
Now a quick break for today's sponsor, MusicBed. MusicBed is the largest collection of curated music with over 50,000 authentic and emotional songs ready to license for your next film or video. Every artist on MusicBed is vetted and handpicked, and even every song is vetted and reviewed to ensure that everything on MusicBed is of the best quality possible. They're actually super intentional about how they curate all of their music. And by that, I mean they only accept about 1% of music that's submitted to the platform, which means the stuff that they do accept is super high quality. And they also work with record labels, which is pretty cool. I think my favorite feature that the platform provides is a search by song function, which basically allows for you to give them any song in the world, and then they can search their library to find something similar so that it can match the look and feel of what you're going for. But you don't have to worry about crazy licensing issues for blue chip musicians or popular songs, which can be a real nightmare. MusicBed is offering a 14-day free trial, so check the link below. Now let's get back to the video.
There were a few things that genuinely surprised me about this camera. Because of its ease of use, because of its reliability, because of its simplicity, because of its battery life, and because of all of the automations that this camera just gets right, I found myself using it a lot. And because of the fact that I'm a content creator, I shoot a lot of videos of myself, I shoot a lot of photos of myself, and I don't have the best self-esteem. I don't necessarily love the way I look all the time, just like most people, but sometimes it's worse than other days. But with a camera like this, I was shooting such a high volume of content because I just liked using it, that I started shifting my mentality towards how I feel about myself. The more I recorded myself, the less I seemed to care about what I looked like, and the more I cared about what I was re-experiencing. And a side effect of that was that my self-confidence elevated, and I started feeling better about myself, which meant I started having more fun, which meant I started appreciating the relationships that I have in my life a little bit better. And my mental health seemed to get a lot better. And from a camera, just from a silly piece of hardware.
Here's what I've learned about using this camera for as long as I've been using it, which is not very long, which should tell you about the impact that this camera actually has on the creative process, which is making stuff feels beautiful. Even when that thing is just for me, and even when that thing probably isn't very good, it feels beautiful.
I found myself caring more about the moment rather than how I looked in the moment. Now, I know that like vanity is not the most important thing, but it's a thing. Like we all say that. Everybody cares about themselves to a degree. I was caring about myself in, I don't think, the healthiest manner, but now that feeling is significantly diminished. And I noticed that it was diminished since I brought this camera into my life, which is really kind of unexpected. I found my ability to enjoy things like going out with friends, going to restaurants, going to fun special events, going to car shows, which is like a really important thing to me, and just generally experiencing life in a risk-free environment, and a reward-free environment for that matter. I didn't have to sacrifice any of those moments while I was creating content around them. And the most important thing is that the moment wasn't spoiled for anybody else. And I still got to engage in making things, which is a very deep and important passion of mine. Whenever I'm not making something, I am decidedly less healthy mentally than when I am making something. And this camera somehow helped me do that again. I think like the heart of the argument that I'm trying to making is something that's superficial, which is that people generally like nice things, and this is a really nice thing to have. But the result of getting something under a superficial pretense is something very much not superficial, which is I get to enjoy my life and not sacrifice the moments that I'm experiencing while also engaging in a deep passion of mine, which is making things. Somehow, this little camera allows for me to unlock the ability to enjoy both of those things simultaneously. That's sort of the sweet spot. I don't think I really need anything more than that. I know this is like not exactly a camera review video, and it's sort of a departure from the normal content that I bring, but I'm starting to branch out with regards to things that interest me: health, wellness, cars. Yes, cameras will always be a part of this, but it's more about like the artistry of being a creator and the business of creatordom as well. So if that kind of stuff is enjoyable to you and you like this, please go ahead and like this video. If you really enjoyed it, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Also, buy this camera. The link is below this video. It's a really fun camera, and I'm probably gonna keep using it a lot. Oh, the other thing is this camera is like super tough, so you don't actually have to worry about it getting like knocked around, because at the end of the day, it was built as an action camera, so it's pretty burly.